What's up guys, this is KDCloudy. Welcome to 2026's first video, and this is probably my most anticipated video, at least for me, because I watched Avatar Fire and Ash in 3D, high frame rate, 48 FPS and 185:1 in none other than Bangalore's freshly upgraded IMAX with laser at PVR Nexus Koramangala. I've been waiting for this upgrade for a long time because I've been living in Bangalore for the past year and a half, and somehow, strangely, despite Bangalore having 6 IMAXs, it's the only metro city without a 4K laser IMAX. So I'm happy this happened and everything aligned, and I got opening day tickets. Now I've visited this particular IMAX multiple times before this upgrade. In fact, I had already made a video in 2023 Feb. And this is a very iconic venue for Bangalore. This was PVR's first multiplex in Bangalore, the first multiplex in Bangalore, period. And in 2012, one of the auditoriums was converted into an IMAX, making it the first IMAX of Bangalore, PVR's first IMAX in all of India. So this is a pretty special multiplex. And after 13 years of service and being #1 in terms of box office collections, this place finally gets a well-deserved facelift and some new tech. Now, I have a very strong affinity to OG IMAXs, like locations which were made before IMAX went mainstream, like in the 2000s or early 2010s, and this is one of them. And you can see that in the lobby itself. There's a dedicated IMAX lobby with this giant logo and blue lights everywhere, and it's nice. It's largely the same as before with the Pepsi branding and the furniture and stuff, but it sets the tone quite right. But we are mostly concerned with the IMAX Auditorium, and once you enter, you're greeted with the most iconic IMAX of Bangalore in a new avatar, pun intended. Okay, so what is exactly new, you might ask? Well, projection, seats, carpets, screens, speakers, pretty much everything. Now, just a specs recap, this IMAX has a screen which is roughly 60 to 61 feet wide, IMAX's XT laser projection, which is an upgrade from the dual xenon system, 12-channel audio, which is an upgrade from the old 5-channel option, and 347 seats. Okay, now specs and all are fine, but I absolutely love the shiny new look. The new faux leather seats look super comfy and clean and arranged in this curved fashion like before, like a classic IMAX. The walls are redone with a brand new IMAX logo signage, and it makes it more consistent with the other PVR IMAXs in Bangalore. So while I like it, I do like the old retro logo from before. Now, to any other person, it might seem like an ordinary IMAX, but once you look at the before and after, things start to look drastic. And then you appreciate the small details like the carpeting, the lights, the ceiling make a big difference in uplifting the vibe of the cinema. Okay, now interiors and all are done. Let's come to the meat of it, which is projection and sound. This IMAX has been decked out with the IMAX with laser XT projection system and 12-channel audio, which is absolutely crazy because 12-channel audio in India is very rare. Now, what 12-channel audio essentially means is that if you physically count all the speakers, there are 7 more. 4 on the ceiling for the first time, 2 on the side walls, and 1 extra behind the screen. Now, before I talk about the laser projection, this is the second time I'm visiting an IMAX before and after a laser upgrade. The first one being Select City Walk in 2019. And I'll be honest, that was 6 years ago and I was young and I couldn't really tell the difference between laser and non-laser. But since then, I've seen a lot more movies in the theaters, IMAX, non-IMAX, laser, non-laser, 2K, 4K. And it's now that I started to appreciate the differences between laser and non-laser. Okay, now what is the difference you should expect the next time you see a movie in this particular IMAX? Well, first things first, you'll see a massive improvement in colors and contrast. And the next thing is sharpness and detail, because these IMAX with laser systems support 4K natively. So whenever you watch a movie with a 4K DCP, usually 2D presentations, you'll see a massive increase in sharpness. And your experience might vary movie to movie, but most film for IMAX titles look really sharp, especially the ones shot on IMAX film like Oppenheimer or Sinners. I remember watching those movies in IMAX lasers in other cities, and they remain some of the sharpest movies I've ever seen on a big screen. So that's something you have to look forward to. Now, here's a pro tip for you. The next time you watch a 2D movie in this particular IMAX, I want you to notice the subtitles, and they will be extremely sharp. And that's one way to notice the difference between 2K and 4K, because 2K projectors just cannot reproduce text with that level of sharpness. The 3D is better with laser systems. The glasses fold now, they're much more compact and comfortable to wear. And they use something called circular polarization, so that even when you tilt your head, the 3D effect stays strong. But for Avatar Fire and Ash, along with 3D, 48 FPS high frame rate is the important key component of the experience. And I've made multiple videos about 380 and James Cameron and high frame rate in 2022, so you can check that out to learn more. However, like 2022, I watched a 2K 3D presentation of Avatar in this particular IMAX. Now, this particular laser system supports 4K 3D, albeit at 24 FPS. And sometimes you will see a little bit of extra detail, in other 3D movies. But 90% of the time, 3D movies are mostly rendered in 2K. Not to mention the fact that at high frame rate, it becomes much harder to display 3D. So pretty much all IMAX theaters around the world are playing Avatar in 2K. In fact, 90% of the theaters are playing Avatar in 2K high frame rate. The only systems which support 4K high frame rate in 3D are Dolby Cinema and Cinity. We have just one Dolby Cinema in India, couple more coming in a few weeks, hopefully. And Cinity is only in China. So, I mean, 2K wasn't really bad. I was really pissed about it in 2022. But you know what? It looked fine. It looked sharp enough. And the thing is, 2K on a 4K projector looks better than 2K on a 2K projector, if that makes sense. But talking about the rest of my experience, apart from the sharpness, it was a really bright movie. Like, I watched Avatar again in PCX in Hyderabad, and it wasn't as good as 2022 because it was a scope presentation. But again, the screen is huge, and I mean, even a scope movie looks good over there. But what I noticed was that the IMAX version looked vastly different in terms of color and the grade of the movie. And I think that's just IMAX DMR at play. The IMAX Laser version felt very HDR-y in a weird way, where there was a lot more detail in the shadows. The color temperature was much cooler, not warmer, and it was extremely bright than the 9 FLDCP which they were playing at PCX. So now the PCX version was just a little more contrasty, more punchy, more saturated, and people will like that. But having watched the IMAX with laser presentation, I just prefer the more neutral, brighter, flatter version in IMAX Laser, and it's just my personal preference. And I think it depends on like which one you see first, and that's what you associate your memory of the movie with. But yeah, that's I think the typical IMAX DMR look, and it's up to your preference. Sound with the new 12-channel system was a massive setup, and the addition of the new speakers kind of completes the whole sound bubble, if that makes sense. And the directionality of audio was a lot more prominent this time, whether it's flying arrows left to right or flying creatures, all that stuff. And the traditional IMAX bass was also present whenever the Tulkun spoke on screen, so that was awesome as well. Now, maybe because it's a new theater, I felt that the impact of the bass was slightly less than what an IMAX is supposed to have. Maybe because it's like a brand new speakers, and they require a little more burn-in time. But I still feel that Vega City IMAX has a little more impact, in terms of bass. Maybe the speakers are just tuned that way in that place. But I think PVR Koramangala IMAX will also get better over time. So that's something that remains to be seen. So overall, PVR Nexus Koramangala IMAX becomes my go-to spot for watching film for IMAX titles. I mean, Bangaloreans are eating good, because after this, we have the new Dolby Cinema at EMB Cinemas to look out for, which I will visit soon. So, 2026 is the year, man. And I'm finally glad that I don't have to travel anymore just to experience IMAX with laser. So that will save a lot of money. Thank you so much for watching this video through and through. And 2026 is going to be a very exciting year in terms of movies and theaters. I cannot wait for all that's in store. And my next video is going to be about my first ever 1.43 IMAX experience in China, which I had a few weeks ago. And that is going to be one hell of a video. So subscribe for that, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.